The Progression of Medicine as a Whole System opening parenthesis No.1507 VPT number 066, January 17, 2026 by Gerald C. EclaireMD Foundation. Category: Medicine Progression. Preface: I reached age 79 today. I began elementary school at age 4 in 1951 and have been studying continuously ever since. I spent 18 years at 6 universities, across 8 disciplines, and earned 6 degrees. I later devoted 9 years to independent study in psychology and personality disorders. Since 2010, I have self-studied medicine without institutions, colleagues, or patients, reading over 10,000 medical papers and writing 1,507 single-authored research articles. This work reflects long-term observation, engineering reasoning, and lived experience. I am not attacking medicine. I am trying to understand it honestly. Why medicine progress feels slow. In my early training from 1964 to 1970, linearity, elasticity, statistics, and averages were the dominant tools used to integrate mathematics, engineering, and computer science. After 1970, engineering moved decisively into time-dependent, nonlinear, and dynamic system analysis. No serious engineering field today explains failure using linear elastic and static averages alone. Medicine did not make that transition. Modern medical education still relies on cross-sectional snapshots, population averages, and linear dose-response thinking. Biomarkers such as HbA1c, SBP, LDL, and creatinine are treated as labels instead of dynamic signals. Once time is removed, nonlinearity disappears by definition. This gap is not about intelligence or age. It is training inertia. As an engineer, I find it unsafe to ignore peaks, rates of change, and accumulated energy. Glucose control is a delayed nonlinear feedback system. Blood pressure is a pulsatile wave with transient overloads. Blood vessels deform through fatigue, not averages. Disease progression is time-dependent, path-dependent, and irreversible. Yet modern medicine still explains failure using means. Medicine as a saturated system. To understand this stagnation, I introduced the Medicine Progression Index, MPI, a normalized, outcome-based measure of real medical progress. When viewed through a VMT lens, MPI behaves like output strain. Early decades show elastic gains, where small inputs produce large improvements. Later decades enter viscoplastic saturation, where increasing stress yields diminishing returns. For selected input stressors drive this medicine progression system. 1. Medical education and training. 2. Pharmaceutical and device intensity. 3. Food and nutrition environment. For healthcare system complexity driven by profit and administration. When analyzed using viscoplastic medicine theory VMT energy modeling, a critical pattern emerges. All four stressors contribute nearly equal energy, each between 24% and 26%. This shows balanced system-wide saturation, not a single dominant failure. Food and pharmaceuticals slightly lead at 26% each, reflecting a low effectiveness loop in which poor nutrition generates chronic metabolic disease. And chronic disease sustains long-term drug dependence without curing the underlying disorders. Large energy is consumed with limited reversal. Medicine education and healthcare system complexity together account for nearly half of total energy, 48%. These act as structural breaks, reinforcing linear, elastic, static and average thinking. Administrative overburdens such as Obamacare and defensive medicine. Because energy is evenly distributed, no isolated solution can work. Fixing drugs alone fails. Fixing education alone fails. Medicine functions as one tightly coupled system. Why incentives matter. Chronic diseases create lifelong patients, and lifelong patients create stable revenue. As a former high-tech CEO, I understand this business logic well. This revenue structure shapes science itself. Population-based statistical methods dominate, because they support mass treatment, predictable outcomes, and long-term disease management centered on medications, rather than lifestyle correction. The processed food environment further worsens this cycle. Individual trajectories, early reversal, and causality-focused approaches receive less attention. Not because they lack scientific rigor, but because they threaten the existing economic model. Money talks. When money talks, science is pushed aside. This is why hospital policies are often controlled by MBAs, not MDs, after a hemorrhagic stroke near the Pontine area. I was discharged from a major hospital within 2 days under a bed turnover model. That decision optimized hospitals' throughput, not patients' recovery. Closing reflection. Modern medicine feels advanced yet inefficient and slow. This is not a failure of intelligence, data, or technology. It is a failure of outdated training, over-reliance on pharmaceutical and processed food interventions, misaligned incentives, and incomplete or ineffective system models. Fields such as aerospace, semiconductors, AI, and materials science reward efficiency, waste reduction, and problem elimination. Medicine, as currently structured, rewards continuation and overemphasizes profit maximization. I am not trying to replace medicine. I am trying to see it clearly. Only by viewing medicine as a whole, nonlinear, time-dependent system can real progress resume. Disclaimer. I write this paper not for fame, but to share what I have learned so others can better understand health and disease. This content is for educational reference only and does not constitute medical advice. No doctor-patient relationship is created. This work may be shared freely, but not altered or republished as one's own. All rights belong to the author, Gerald C.